just getting back to what is a real food versus a processed food that is something our body has to adapt to versus something that nourishes our body.
Yeah. So, everybody's different in this area. How long have you been dealing with, gut issues? How long have you not been able to digest your food properly? One of the ways that we can determine some of those things is through the organ reflex exam that we do. It deals with something called Chapman reflex points. If you'd like to look that up, that is just amazing science that's behind this, that looks at the different systems in the body. There's hundreds of these points. However, we can actually determine, what areas need support from these Chapman reflex points. And what's beautiful about this whole process is you tell us, we don't have to guess. And that's the whole point. We don't like to guess. We want to be as specific and as tailored as possible to each of our patients.
So the question is, what are the benefits of rotating bottles of Lacto Prime Plus and Prescript Assist probiotics?
That's an awesome question.
That's a great question.
All right. So we have found that rotating those two different sources of bacteria is very beneficial for our patients. And primarily the reason is, think of your gut as, and there's a war going on. Approximately, if you've got good, healthy gut flora, about 15% of the bacteria that's found in your gut should be what they would consider the pathogenic kind, like your E. coli, stuff that can cause disease. Whether the remaining should be the good guys. Well, if you're thinking of this as kind of like a war that's consistently going on in your gut, you want to keep the bad guys on their toes. You don't want them to know exactly what army's coming at them all the time. You want to, keep them on their toes. You want to make sure that they don't know what's coming at them. So consistently changing the good army is a way to consistently combat the bad guys from becoming, overwhelming your system.
And also, the more variety that you have, the more it benefits your body. When you look at natural sources of probiotics like lacto-fermented foods, sauerkraut, yogurt, you're going to get a little bit of a different strain and a different type depending on the type of food that you're eating, where that food was grown, what kind of natural bacteria is on it to begin with. And so the best source of probiotics always is to eat lacto-fermented foods. And it's becoming more popular to be able to buy those. There's a refrigerated section in Whole Foods now that has a lot of great fermented carrots and kimchi and coleslaw. Sauerkraut, not coleslaw. Whole other thing. And also you can make it on our YouTube channel at HealthWorks TX. We have a video that one of our great friends, Britt, made, and it shows how to make 21-day sauerkraut. It is so easy, and it's literally pennies, pennies per serving. And all you really need to do is take about a tablespoon of it per day instead of a probiotic. And so when you make a batch of 21-day sauerkraut and put it in your fridge when it's done, it can last you months, and you've paid the price of a head of cabbage. So sometimes people, they'll maybe complain a little bit about the price of a probiotic, which I get it. They can be more on the more expensive side of a supplement. If you're not going to do the fermented foods, then you absolutely must do a probiotic. But the fermented foods are also a really great source of even, in my opinion, even better probiotics. The culture counts are much higher.
Yeah, and I think they do make it through the stomach too a lot easier and get to the gut than a probiotic pill does. And let's face it, it's much more fun to eat than it is to take a pill.
Yeah.
And one of the most exciting things that I'm seeing coming out about the probiotic science is that they're actually looking at different strains now as to what is good for what condition. Like, do you have constipation? Do you have more diarrhea? Do you have, anxiety, all those things? They're actually looking at these strains to see exactly what would be best. Instead of using a drug, they're using something naturally found in our environment that we should be commensal with and using it to increase health overall. It's really, really interesting.
I'm actually working on a handout for you guys right now about that very, well,
Wow.
you know, yesterday and then again tomorrow. I will be working on this for you guys where you can match it up. So like if you're having anxiety, you can make sure that your probiotic has this in it. Or if you've taken antibiotics, you can make sure that you
rebuild.
Yeah, so I'm working on that, and I'll get it up on my blog at Dr. Christy Life, and also on our HealthWorks TX blog. You'll see it come up, and then we'll have it in the office for you too. So it'll talk a little bit more about specific conditions and the probiotic that you would need to take. I would say in addition to your fermented foods, and then how to recover from antibiotics, which is a whole nother topic. And hence, some people are saying we never recover from an antibiotic, so avoid them. But we'll talk about that probably at a different time and place.
Entirely a whole Facebook Live event for just that single subject.